Hey traders, it's Chris here. Welcome back. So Nikola Motors down 25% as the CEO has resigned in the last 24 hours. This is catastrophic for the stock, and it might be curtains for Nikola as a whole. So there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot going on with investigations, the Hindenburg research, the resignation, what that means for the company, potential paths going forward, how we're trading it, and how you can trade it. So stay tuned. There's a lot going on with this. Stay to the end of the video. So we're going to give you some trade ideas at the end on how you can trade it. Before we move on, if you like this video, any point in time, make sure to hit that like button. We really appreciate it. Helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to our channel and definitely let us know in the comments below what you think about this once it's all said and done. Okay, so getting into the first part and the meat of it and reason why Nikola is down 25%, the CEO, the head of the company, the spokesperson for the company, Trevor Milton, has resigned in the last 24 hours. And this is, taking the captain off the ship at such a pivotal moment in time when the ship is heading towards various icebergs, Titanic style. So the main thing that has really kind of been the crux of all this and the accelerant behind all this is a report by Hindenburg Research, which came out on September 10th, sharing a laundry list of problems and potential frauds with the company. I'm saying potential because it's allegations at this point, but some of them have been quite damning. And the one that really did the most damage was evidence that the Nikola One in motion video, which showed the Nikola One truck carrying or towing this big rig and supposedly moving under its own power, turns out that was entirely false. What they had provided was and shown evidence of that the strip of road that they were on just before that you saw the truck coming down, there was actually a hill many miles back, and they had just rolled the truck down the hill. The powertrain wasn't even working, but they rolled it down the hill and got enough speed so that by the time you got to the flat spot, it already had enough momentum and it looked like a truck that was already in motion. The interesting thing about it is when they came out with this claim, the CEO, Trevor Milton, did not deny it. He just kind of gave this cryptic response that I'll be responding to all these points. But if it was false right off the bat, you would think the logical thing would be to deny right off the bat and say, hey, that's completely false. This is that, and we can prove it and we'll establish this within the next amount of hours. Nothing came out, no rebuttals of it saying that it was powered by its own powertrain. So that was kind of like a big problem for Nikola right off the bat, that they had technically engaged in a fraud. But then there are many other claims that had come out, such as they were saying, hey, we're using our own in-house technology, but actually photographs had shown that they were using inverters from a company called Cascadia, and they had just put a little green strip of tape over it showing the Cascadia label on it, so it made it look like it was in-house technology from Nikola. It wasn't. And then their whole technology is based upon hydrogen fuel cells, and the problem is that they aren't actually producing any hydrogen right now. Their claims that they could produce it for 81% cheaper, when pressed about it by the media, Trevor had to admit they're not producing it and they aren't producing it 81% cheaper. So all of these things started to really unravel. This report came out on September 10th, and it's just kind of been this weird situation with Trevor Milton coming up with these weird cryptic rebuttals, not talking about anything directly. Again, if somebody's accusing me of something of a complete fraud and I have evidence that that's not true, I'm going to refute that pretty immediately and establish points of evidence that say, hey, this is not true at all. But he wasn't able to do that at all. And that skepticism and doubt did not help the overall company and stock price. Now, on top of it, there are SEC and DOJ investigations that are underway on Trevor Milton. And so my guess is he's kind of resigning now to just get out of the way and reduce as much possible damage to the company as possible. But it might be too late, because if people find out that he was engaged in some sort of fraud and, that the company itself was based on all these things, there's really not going to be a whole lot of investing interest. And that's a problem, because as of last note, when RobinTrack was still recording data, there were over 200,000 RobinHood traders long on Nikola. And that is not good. I don't know how many of them are still long. I don't know how many of you are still long right now, but hopefully you were smart and kind of reading the tea leaves there when all these announcements came out that you started to pull your investments back. There's a lot of people that were pretty levered up on Nikola, and now they're going to have to start unwinding those investments. So at this point, I think Nikola, it has to be a full-on bear play. I do not really see a bull case unless they bring in some new CEO and they're able to refute a lot of points in the Hindenburg research report. I really don't see any sort of bull case for Nikola, and we could see a massive unwinding in shares. This thing could tank to zero. It's certainly possible at this point. So what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to share with you some ideas on how we've been trading it right now, potential trade ideas going forward, how you can put some plays and trades on Nikola going forward. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the chart here, and this is just to show you right now how much of a damaging effect his resignation had on the stock. This is the 5-minute chart on Nikola here. So this is pre-market. It's pretty much going nowhere. All of a sudden, the announcement comes out that he had resigned, and bam. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some potential trade ideas, how we've been trading it, and what you want to watch out for. Now, just to start off, we're going to look at the 5-minute chart. This is the Nikola pre-market, or actually after market on the 18th. And then when the announcement over before the market opened today that he had resigned, the market opened just crashing down from 34 down to 24, and it went down as low as 21.5 before bouncing and recovering a little bit. So absolutely devastating price action for it. There has been a little bit of bounce, but it's kind of just gotten rejected at resistance a few times and is closed now, in low 27. Now, in terms of how we've been trading it, we actually have an option play on it. So we did a bear put spread, and we funded that by selling a call at 45. We even announced this to our members. So here's a screenshot of the actual trade in our broker chart. This is Thinkorswim platform. You could see it here. And then here is the actual post on the 14th that we had shared with our stock trading course members. So we share our trades with our stock trading course members, both stock and option plays. And here's the exact same sharing of it here. Hey, we took the 35-30 bear put spread on Nikola, and then we funded that selling the 45 calls. Well, with the market now closing the way it did, we unwound the calls, so we've taken profit on that. We still have the bear put spread in play, so that is making money for us, and we're going to hold this now because we believe bearish pressure is going to remain on this stock for the time being. Now, in terms of how you can potentially trade it going forward, so we're going to take a look at the 1-hour chart here. So right now, I think some of the best plays to trade Nikola, because a lot of brokers aren't really offering you a chance to short it. Some of them are making it hard to borrow or not available to borrow. If you are with Thinkorswim, pro tip here, when it says hard to borrow, there's a way to actually get around it. So if you have a $125,000 account or higher, which is not anything crazy, that you can call them directly, you can call the dealing desk and say, hey, I want to sell some shares. Can you borrow some shares for me? So even if it says HTB hard to borrow, you can actually talk to the broker, say, hey, I want to sell some shares on Nikola. I want you to borrow some shares. They'll do that for a small fee. They'll want to know how many shares you want, and then you can short it. So that is an option for those of you that qualify. But if you don't qualify, well, then another option is to trade it with options. Now, being that the implied volatility is really high right now, one potential play is to sell a bear call spread. This is a credit spread that takes advantage of high IV, and you want the market to go from high IV to low IV. So one of the ways you could play this is you can look for some sort of resistance that you don't think Nikola is going to get above. One of those potential resistance levels is right around 35. So you could sell a bear call spread by selling the 35 and maybe buying the 40. That's one potential play. You widen it a little bit, there's more potential credit, but there's also more risk that goes with that. If you don't want to do a credit spread like that by selling calls and you think that this is just going to go down, well, then you could do a bear put spread. Now that is going to be a debit spread. So you're going to have to pay to get into that. Whereas the bear call spread, you receive a credit to get into that. So if you have the capital and you don't want to put up margin and you're down with doing a debit spread, then you could do a bear put spread on this one here. So one potential play is you could wait for this to kind of come up to a resistance, maybe wait for it to come up to the 29.20, or if you think it actually is going to pull back to the low 34s, then you could sell, say, you could buy the 35 put or 34 put and then sell a put below that. Now that would limit your max profit, but that would be a potential way to make more money. You're going to have to pay money to get in, but that would also increase your potential reward on it. So my personal preferences on this are bear put spreads and bear call spreads. And so that's how we're trading it. And I've also given you some potential trade ideas. I hope I've given you some interesting ways to think about it. I don't really see much upside for Nikola. If you are long and you are a big believer in Nikola, in my opinion, now would be a good time to be buying downside protection or exiting the position. You're talking about the captain of the ship, the CEO, the standard bearer for the ship has taken off, and maybe the Fed should be checking for some sort of, private jet flights that, all of a sudden he shows up on or something like that, because I can easily see him wanting to take off and escape to some sort of non-extradition country to avoid any sort of prosecution. This is a very bad situation. This could lead to, all kinds of criminal fines, potential imprisonment for him. His future is not looking good. And if even half of the research reporting claims of fraud and impropriety against Nikola are true, then the company is in serious, serious trouble. And I would not want to be long for the life of me on this. If it's also true, you think about it, if Trevor Milton had been, dishonest with the public for so long on so many different levels, if he had a love child child with Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos, the former CEO of Theranos, they could call that child Nikolanos, and they would probably sell the Earth and the entire human race to the kaiju from Pacific Rim while they take off some sort of tropical planet in another solar system. That totally terrifies me. So with that being said, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below on how you're trading Nikola. If you have also potential trade ideas, we love sharing these ideas with the community. And let us know any other thoughts you have about Nikola, things to refute these claims, things to support these claims. We're totally interested in hearing about that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to your comments and feedback, and I'll see you in the next one.